And so we're going to start off making sure Americans are taken care of first, but we're then going to try to help the rest of the world. Thank you.
Is there a crisis at the border, sir?
Republicans voted for the flag.
God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming in.
Mr. Biden, the COVID task force said it's safe for students to be in class. Are you going to encourage unions to cooperate more to bring kids back to classroom, sir?
You're bad. I'm not supposed to be answering all these questions. I'm supposed to leave, but I can't resist your questions.
I'm signing this because I'm in this race to win, and with that guy right there, and we're going to get it done.
Have you had the best
guys,
tested for
thank you.
coronavirus?
Come on, guys.
Senator?
Thank you, guys. Come on, you guys. Come on, let's go. Come on, thank you. Come on, guys. Thank you.
For extensive parts of the briefing, even perhaps, but we have a common goal, which is sharing accurate information with the American people. If the president were standing here with me today, he would say he works for the American people. I work for him, so I also work for the American people. But his objective and his commitment is to bring transparency and truth back to government.
Given the conditions that were just laid out at the migrant facilities at the U.S. border, will you commit to allowing journalists to have access to the facilities that are overcrowded moving forward?
I will commit when my plan very shortly is underway to let you have access to not just them, but to other facilities as well.
How soon will journalists be able to have access to the facilities? We've obviously been allowed to be inside one, but we haven't seen the facilities in which children are packed together to really give the American people a chance to see that. Will you commit to transparency on this issue?
I will commit to transparency, and as soon as I am in a position to be able to implement what we're doing right now. And one of the reasons I haven't gone down, I have all my chief folks have gone down, is I don't want to become the issue. I don't want to be, bringing all the Secret Service and everybody with me to get in the way. So this is being set up, and you'll have full access to everything once we get this thing moving.
Okay, and just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
Do you bear responsibility for everything that's happening at the border now? I hear you talking a lot about the past administration. You decided to roll back some of those policies. Did you move too quickly to roll back
what? I'm sorry?
Policies. Did you move too quickly to roll back some of the executive orders of your predecessor?
First of all the policies are underway. We're not helping at all. Did not slow up the amount of immigration and as many people coming. And rolling back the policies of separating children from their mothers, I make no apology for that. Rolling back the policies of remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio Grande in a muddy circumstance with not enough to eat, I make no apologies for that. I make no apologies for ending programs that did not exist before Trump became president, that have an incredibly negative impact on the law, international law, as well as on human dignity. And so I make no apologies for that.
About the transparency with the current administration?
Well, there is none. There is none. And, I guess you're supposed to have a press conference on Thursday, but the questions will all be softballs. I've watched the interviews. I like George Stephanopoulos, but I watched those couple of interviews, and it was a joke. It was just like a softball. Anybody could answer them, and yet he almost couldn't answer them, to be honest with you, so you know that. So it'll be interesting. I hear the questions are all vetted. You don't have the same people in there. I mean, you might have the same people, but it's a whole different set of questions. It's ridiculous, the questions that are asked. What did you have for dinner? What kind of ice cream do you have? As he walks out, they never talk to me that way, and that's okay. I had a lot of press conferences. I enjoyed press conferences because you get the word out. It's the only way to get an honest word out, because the press is really not a free press. The press is not a free press in our country. Okay, so the way you get the press out is with press conferences. Now, he doesn't need them because the press protects him totally. I mean, anybody else, if that were me that hasn't had a press conference for as long, for the number of, with all the things going on, especially at the border, but really you have things as big as the border. We're not going to be energy independent within 3 months. I mean, think of that. I worked so hard. First time ever, we were energy independent. We didn't need Russia. We didn't need the Middle East. We didn't need anybody. We were energy independent.
This undoes all of
now
that.
It's being thrown away. And all those countries, by the way, including Ukraine, where his son has an interest, big interest, are going to make a fortune. They're going to make a fortune. And look at the way
Still
gasoline prices are going up at the pump. Harris, look at the gasoline prices, how they're going up at the pump.
And again, these are all things that if you had a traditional news conference a few weeks ago, we wouldn't be playing catch up on this. I don't know that you can get all of this done on Thursday. And, when he was asked about the president of the United States there, we see video on the screen, Joe Biden, he was asked about going to the border, because I want to toggle back just a little bit, and the gag order that's on all of us there. When he was asked whether or not he would go, he said, at some point, you've been to the border, Mr. Trump, and you know that when you go, or the First Lady goes, as she did, Melania Trump, when you go to the border, you bring a different level of attention to whatever is going on down there. Democrats are not calling this a crisis, yet they sent in FEMA and HHS. So I want to talk with you about the transparency specifically with this issue. Should border agents be able to talk with us openly? Our Griff Jenkins had to really get in there and follow some, because we can't even do ride-alongs right now. What are your thoughts about what likely is going on behind the scenes that we can't see? That's a lot of questions, so I'll just let you go at it.
Well, I let the Border Patrol speak, as you know. I spoke a lot. I went to the border, and I went to the border also to learn, because, as an example, I was going to...
My question is about the coronavirus vaccine, or potential. Senator Harris stated that she absolutely would not take a vaccine from President Trump. And of course, we all know it's not President Trump that would create this vaccine. It would be doctors and scientists that presumably we all trust. So my question for you is, if a vaccine were approved between now and the end of the year, would you take it? And if you were to become president, would you mandate that everyone has to take it?
Two things. Number one, President Trump talks about things that just aren't accurate about everything from vaccines. We're going to have one right away. It's going to happen, and so on. The point is that if the scientists...
That's slightly out of his control.
If the body of scientists say that this is what is ready to be done, and it's been tested, they've gone through the 3 phases, yes, I would take it. I'd encourage people to take it. But President Trump says things like, everything from this crazy stuff he's walking away from now, inject bleach in your arm, and that's going to work. I'm not being facetious. He's actually said these things. And now Regeneron is the answer. That's going to cure everything.
How much fucking Botox is in his fucking face, man? Seriously. How much fucking Botox is in his fucking face? Look. Old. Young. He's two-faced.
There's 500,000 doses. We got a couple, we have more than a few million people, and so, and most of the, if you notice, most of the companies who are developing these vaccines are working, they're making real progress. I meet with 4 leading scientists at least twice a week. When we have the vaccine, how do we distribute it?
And once we get it, if it's safe, if it's effective, will you mandate its use?
The answer is, depending on how clear there's vaccines, they say, have a very positive impact, and they're going to affect positively 85% of the American public. Or there's others say this vaccine is really the key. This is the golden key. It depends on the state of the nature of the vaccine, when it comes out, and how it's being distributed. That would depend on. But I would think that we should be talking about, depending on the continuation of the spread of the virus, we should be thinking about making it mandatory.
How could you enforce that?
Well, you couldn't. That's the problem. Just like you can't enforce measles. You can't come to school unless you have a measles shot. You can't. But you can't say everyone has to do this. But you would, just like you can't mandate a mask. But you can say, you can go to every governor and get them all in a room, all 50 of them as president, and say, ask people to wear the mask. Everybody knows.
And if they don't, fine.
And they don't, no, not fine. Then I go to every governor, I go to every mayor, I go to every councilman, I go to every local official. Say, mandate the mask. Say, this is what you have to do when you're out. Make sure you encourage it being done. Look.
I mean, he's honest. Like, that's exactly what he did. That's what he's been doing. And, but he's not going to these people. He fucking spends all his time in Delaware.
George, you and I know, and I think you do too as well, the words of a president matter.
Absolutely.
No matter whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, they matter. And when
We've seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this.
Having a good relationship.
Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. Last time we were on stage, this guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn. He said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system.
Friggin' this video went to shit. I started freaking going over the place. But, yeah, sorry about the ends here. Well, sorry about freaking it was just all freaking over the place. I had good intentions. Maybe I'll freaking assemble my masterpiece. This is just a rough draft. Come on, man.